Welcome back to more of the Forgotten City, and we are here talking to a stranger who we got our name, but I forgot her name. But we're going to continue this conversation. What's your story? Ooh.
Oh my, I take it people are quite direct where you're
Equitia.
from.
Yes.
I suppose it's quite charming in its own way. Usually, however, you wouldn't simply march up to a Vestal priestess and without due formality or courtesy ask, "What is your story?"
Sorry, what should I have done?
The proper approach would be to arrange an introduction through a mutual acquaintance in high office, by which time you would already know how to address me. And then you would find a way to satisfy your curiosity rather more indirectly. But to be honest, I've often thought what an unnecessarily formal way to communicate that is. So, let's do it your way. You just keep being yourself and ask whatever you like. It'll be a refreshing change.
Nice. How did you end up here?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. But what about you? How did you end up here?
A young woman named Karen dragged me out of a river unconscious and sent me in here. That's pretty much what happened.
Karen, you say? And nothing about that name seemed odd to you?
Yeah, she was a Karen. It's an older name, but not uncommon from where I'm from.
Older. I see.
Yes.
I wonder if... No.
What were you going to say?
I apologize. I don't mean to be cryptic. It's just that you've got me thinking.
About
Have you
what?
spoken with any of the others about how they arrived here too? I really think you should.
At least one.
Go around and ask them what they remember and see if you notice any patterns.
And Karens. I'll do that.
Good. Thank you. But please be careful. I just don't want to see what happened to Olivia happen to you too.
What happened to Olivia?
Up until a few weeks ago, she was a perfectly productive member of our little community, darning clothes and cutting hair. She was always so chatty, always seeking out newcomers and asking them where they were from and how they wound up here. And then, about a month ago, she suddenly changed. She withdrew, stopped working and became despondent, started muttering to herself. Galerius and I visited her to see how we could help, but she just looked at us with this haunted stare, called us bloodless shadows, and told us we were ignorant of some pattern. Look, it could be unrelated. Perhaps she simply fell ill. Or, as Galerius suggested, the weight of the golden rule was too much for her. But there is a small chance that she learned something, saw a pattern nobody else saw, and that it broke her. I just don't want to see that happen to you. So be careful, will you?
I'm surprised she taking that much concern over us, especially after we just met. I'll be careful.
Thank you. Now, go and follow the thread of truth through this labyrinth and come back to me if you discover any patterns.
So we got another quest. So, what do you think of the Golden Rule?
I'm quite sure it's the work of the gods, which is strange because they've never been particularly concerned with our misdeeds, as long as we've kept the peace of the gods. We asked for blessings, for good health, bountiful harvest, military victory, and in return, we offer praise, wine, incense, or animals. But here, it seems they require much more of us. I find myself reminded of an especially pertinent tale from our great poet Ovid in his epic Metamorphoses. Would you like to hear it? It is rather long.
Whoa. Is there a short version?
I suppose so. Jupiter and Mercury put a town to the test by disguising themselves as vagrants and asking for shelter there. Everyone turned them away and failed that test, except for an old couple named Baucis and Philemon, and so the gods gave them time to escape and granted them a wish, and then wiped that town off the map. Some say the moral of that story is that we must all honor the sacred rituals of guest friendship, the reciprocal obligations owed between hosts and guests. But I like to think it's that we should always show compassion for those less fortunate than ourselves.
Correct. I agree there.
I'm pleased to hear it.
So, I've been asking people about, do you know of a way out of here?
I don't, I'm afraid. It seems to me we're exiled here until the gods judge us, one way or another.
About the election.
It must be completed by dusk, just the same as any other official business. It'll be between Sentius, the incumbent, and Malleolus, the challenger. Why do you ask?
What's your role?
I'm responsible for announcing it and making sure the procedures are followed.
Who's allowed to vote?
All of the male citizens who are willing and able
The
to
males.
attend, unless they're running, of course.
The women can't vote?
That's just the way it's always been, I'm afraid. It never sat right with me, either. There are some women who can vote, Vestal priestesses like myself, but in this case, given my role overseeing the election, I've decided to abstain. I can't allow the perception that I'm being anything but fair and independent, but if it's any consolation, there are other ways to influence the outcome of an election.
Such as?
Using whatever gifts the gods gave you. Nothing untoward, of course.
Can you nominate another candidate? Talk about something else.
Certainly.
I'll be going now.
Come back to me once you've acquainted yourself with the rest of our neighbors.
All right, I'll get out now. So I'm guessing that's her house. Yep. Come back later, I guess. Right, let's go on up here, see what we got. This place is larger than you think. And I don't even know where to go, because I am doing the Vanishing Act. Turn the interface down, it's a little loud. There we go. So shall we go straight ahead or go to the left? Let's see what's over here. So you must have sinned because you turned to gold. This place is larger than you think. Bottle. Garum, a fermented fish sauce used as a condiment. It gives off a faint salty aroma. Interesting. Birds. But I don't see them. Don't want to anger the gods. Hello? A little shady around here. But yeah, this game is nice graphically. Pretty fun gameplay as well. As I get immersed in this world. So this is the where people go to the restroom, I guess. Yep, toilets. Communal public toilets. These holes must be designed for use with the sponge on the stick. Sponge stick. A small stick with a sponge attached. This must be what the Romans used instead of toilet paper. It appears to be for communal use. Best to put this back immediately. Yes. Can you imagine the smells of this place? Those Romans were kind of ahead of the times, though. Always remember they're watching. Graffiti. Theophilus had an orgy with 4 girls here and disappointed all of them equally. Nice. Okay. So, in a way, this led me to, what's this, the market square? Sure. Okay. Whoever's in these statues.
Salve.
Salve. Let's talk to this guy.
Ah, a new face. Salve, and welcome to a little community. My name's impossible to pronounce for most people, so you can just call me Virgil. You arrived on a sad
Virgil.
day, friend. What with Julia's death? I wish we
Julia's
could have met
dead.
under better circumstances.
She's dead?
Well, I'm an architect.
That's what I'm looking for, to
Oh,
be honest.
at least I was back in Rome. That's probably too grandiose a term to describe
from
what I do here.
Germany?
Help out with repairs and try to stop old buildings from collapsing on people, that kind of thing. But you probably don't want to hear about the ingenious architecture or mysterious history of this place.
About the temple up on the bluff.
You mean the Great Temple? This one's a bit of a mystery. Given the way it's positioned so prominently, looking down on us, it's clear that whoever built it felt it was the most important temple in the city. Unfortunately, someone else went out of their way to keep its purpose a mystery. You see, usually a temple is dedicated to a particular god, like Proserpina or Diana or Apollo. Usually, that god is obvious. But in this case, it's unknown. There's an obelisk out the front, which probably used to bear the name of this unknown god. But it appears some barbarian defaced it. And of course we can't get inside because it's locked up tighter than the Temple of Saturn in Rome. And that contains the treasury. So we're all left wondering, which god is that temple dedicated to? And could it be the one responsible for the Golden Rule? Unless somebody figures out a way inside, I suppose we'll never know.
I guess that person would be me. What about the city's architecture?
Gladly. Personally, my favorite thing about this place is the aqueducts. Those series of adjoining arches. They're an ingenious feat of Roman engineering with a very practical purpose. They take fresh water coming from outside the city and distribute it all across the chasm. It's funneled below the palace and into a cistern beneath the Great Temple. Some of it flows down into another cistern beneath the villas, and the rest is funneled to the shrine of Proserpina, where it fills the lake and allows us to fish and farm.
So if they bring water into the city, could we use them to escape?
Hey, not so loud. Just talking about that could anger the gods for all we know.
Oof.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but you'd have to find a way inside somehow. Just, please, try to be a bit more discreet about it.
Water under the bridge. I like that saying. So what about the city's history?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Some of these shrines were constructed hundreds of years ago, which means Romans have been arriving here for at least that long. But there's one thing that puzzles me. The oldest shrine in this avenue isn't Roman at all. It's Greek.
Is it common for Romans to copy Greek art in architecture? Isn't it common?
Well, yes, that could be the reason. Or it could mean that there were Greeks living and worshipping here before the Romans arrived. Which begs the interesting question, who really built this place? And could it be far older than any of us imagine? If only there was a way we could talk to the people who came here before us. The stories they could tell.
Let's talk about something else.
Of course.
What do you think of the Golden Rule?
Some people say it's divine, the work of a god. But I'm not so sure. It just seems so flawed to me. Like it's distinctly human. I mean,
Humans are
once you've
flawed.
been here long enough, you'll notice people doing things that just seem so wrong to you. But this so-called god doesn't seem to care. Which means one of two things. Either you don't know the difference between right and wrong, or this unknown god doesn't. And I'm pretty sure I know the difference. Do you?
I think so, yeah.
Good. Then I hope you'll agree that there are only two ways of dealing with unfair rulers. The first is to leave. The second is to remove the ruler from power. And it seems leaving may not be an option.
Now he's getting a little suspicious. This dangerous talk.
Perhaps not. But that's just my point. With this god? Who knows? It's best if I say no more, but I hope you'll give it some thought.
No way out of
You
here.
wouldn't believe how often the new ones ask that question. But I tell you the same thing I tell everyone else. There are much worse places to live out your days. You might have a few sleepless nights thinking about the Golden Rule. But once you get used to the fear, knowing that a single slip-up could cost you everything, it's not too bad. Nothing new to me, anyway.
What do you mean?
Oh, I just mean I grew up in the Batavi tribe, far to the north in Noviomagus, and learned to expect a bit of hostility. They weren't nearly as tolerant as the Romans.
I noticed the graffiti. What does it mean?
Oh, it means someone thinks I'm a sinner, and that I'm going to break the Golden Rule.
Why does someone think that?
Look, I haven't done anything wrong, if that's what you're thinking. Somebody just has a problem with my preference for male company.
Oh, okay.
Hey, nothing gets by you, huh? Sorry, that was mean. Yes, I like men. And when you grow up in the north, as I did, in the city of Noviomagus, you expect a bit of hostility. The Batavi are not known for their tolerance. I saw enough friends killed or driven away to know the cost of not keeping your personal affairs to yourself. So I hid who I was for, what was it, nearly 10 years?
I get that.
Watching what I said and where I looked. But that kind of fear eats away at you slowly, until living isn't any better than the thing you were afraid of. Needless to say, since I'm now living underground, halfway across the known world with an assumed name, my openness didn't go down well among the enlightened folk of the Batavi.
Go
In any
on.
case, the Romans are far more accepting, and among them, I get to be who I am. Or at least I thought that was the case. It seems I was wrong.
Yeah, the graffiti. Someone doesn't think so. Do you know who's writing the graffiti?
It's not just graffiti. I have quite a collection of handwritten notes too. The strange thing is, I keep my personal affairs to myself. I've never really been interested in any of the men here. Not my type. So I'm not sure what I could have done to upset this person. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably one of those cultists.
Cultist.
Strange bunch. They insist there's only one god, and that he considers my nature a sin. Can you believe that? If there are any of them here, they won't admit it. Not since they supposedly burnt down half of Rome last year and went into hiding. All I know is if these threats keep escalating, eventually my secret admirer is going to cross a line and break the golden rule.
I can look into it.
What? Really? I didn't expect that.
I'll take all the quests I can get.
It's always a pleasure to meet someone so selfless. I'm glad you arrived when you did. I'd start by figuring out who the cultists are. Or maybe ask around among the merchants here. Someone who lives or works in the forum must have seen something. But if you find them, please don't hurt or humiliate them. I suspect they're just confused.
I'll see what I can do. Who are you going to vote for?
Well, Malleolus is talking about loosening some of the restrictions in this place. And while it's all a bit vague, at least he has a vision.
Anything I can do?
My vote isn't for sale, if that's what you're asking.
I'll be going now.
Nice to talk to you.
So we learned quite a bit from Virgil there. And we're going to call it there, and I will catch you guys on the next episode of The Forgotten City. See you then.